Today for Smart TV, we want to talk about your followers. Now, oftentimes when you do social media for your business, you realize that your followers somehow disappear on you. And that doesn't mean you have 0 followers on your page, but you start to notice that the number of people that are interacting with your content, that are clicking your links, that are doing things start to drop. And so we want to talk about this. That's why we phrase this episode, Who Took My Followers, patterned after that great book, Who Took My Cheese, which is a really good book if you haven't read it before. So we're going to talk about what happens, what causes your followers to leave and to not be around and interact with your content anymore. So if you have questions about this as we go along, feel free to ask us those questions. We'd love to answer those questions for you. So thanks everybody for joining us on social media today. We appreciate it. So on your followers, when you are working with your followers, putting out content on your social sites, sharing good information on there with them, that's going to help attract people to your site. So having good content is very, very important to attract followers and to keep them there. Okay, that's very, very important. Now, sometimes the content you're producing maybe doesn't work as well as it used to, and so that can cause a decline in your interactions on your social sites. That can happen. Maybe there's a new technology that's come out in your industry, or maybe there's new changes or updates that are happening. So you want to be able to adjust your content to fit those. Talk about the new things that are coming out, the other stuff that's happening, so that people will see that new content and interact with you. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why you might see a decline in your engagement. And if you're not tracking your engagement, meaning the number of likes, comments, and shares you're getting on your social sites, then you need to be tracking and monitoring that. That is going to give you a lot of information to help you understand the effectiveness of your social media sites. In fact, those 3 metrics, your engagement metrics, basically are more important than the number of followers. That's more of a vanity metric for a lot of people. So the number of engaged followers is a very important thing to keep track of. How many people are liking, commenting, and sharing on your stuff. So as you go along, you will see dips. This happens all the time. So the first thing we want you to understand is this does happen. This is normal to see those dips. The question is why is your engagement dipping? Now, sometimes it could be your content isn't as relevant. Maybe you need to look at that relevancy of your content. That could be a problem in there. Maybe the other issues are, of course, you're putting out the wrong content. So you're not getting good interactions with people. Now, also, if you are getting interactions and they drop off, this is going to be different than if you don't have any interactions at all. If you don't have interactions, but you need interactions, then what you want to do is start looking at how can we get people to like and comment and share on our content. What posts will get people to like, what posts will get them to comment, what posts will get them to share with their friends. So always be thinking about that when you're creating your content. So if you notice that these dips happen, one thing again is the quality of the content. Are we putting out high quality content? Is it interactive? Are people still responding to it, or are we getting nothing out of it? So that's maybe the conversations have shifted. New technology has come out, other things are there that you want to be aware of. The one thing that does happen sometimes, unfortunately, is that you'll end up with a situation where the algorithm that the social network uses changes. And that could influence it as well. Facebook is notorious for this, in that when they change their newsfeed algorithm, sometimes they don't tell you that they've done that. You have to subscribe to their blogs and keep up with a lot of their stuff to stay ahead of those. But if they change it, maybe they want to promote a certain type of content. So when they started putting pictures on Facebook, they started devaluing text only. When they put video on Facebook, they started devaluating pictures and text. So now it's 360-degree videos, live videos are being promoted more as the new type of content. So when that content changes, then maybe your older types of content won't be seen as much. So you want to adjust the type of content you're putting out as well to make sure that news feed is not working against you. And that could help bring that back up. Now, another thing you want to look at are cycles in your business that can cause your followers to leave or at least not be around. Cycles in your business processes, if it's a part of the year that people don't buy that kind of stuff that you sell, then that could be a factor. If you sell kayaks, you might see a decrease in the fall because not as many people are buying kayaks as we go into the wintertime. That could be a natural decrease. And so if you have a natural decrease in purchasing or those sales habits that people have, you want to start changing the type of content you're putting out, because sales type content isn't going to be quite as effective. You want to make sure you're putting more entertainment content, educational content, other things that will help people stay connected with you. The important thing to understand is always keep people connected with you and interacting with your content. It doesn't really matter if it's a dumb cat video that they're interacting with or not. Because the thing is if they are interacting with you, then they're more likely to see other posts that you're putting out, which are going to be your marketing posts. So the more you get people to interact with you on anything, the more they'll see the specific targeted posts that you want to put out as well, without having to buy a ton of ads or boosted posts as you go along. So that's how you get your organic reach up, is help increase that engagement. Now that definitely does not mean that you should just put a whole bunch of random weird stuff on your social sites to get engagement up and then hit them with an ad. That's not necessarily a good way to do it. Make sure it's relevant content, make sure it's important, make sure it's worth digesting. People are going to consume it, they're going to like it, it's going to work out well for them. So those are things you want to keep up to help keep that quality of content up. Now again, if you have a business that has natural business cycles, realize that when you are in the peak, when you're in that top part of your business cycle, awesome. Do your sales, do the things you need to do, still provide good educational, information, be relevant, be good for the people to see. Then when you have those lower sales cycles where you might not get a lot of sales, that's where you can do more education. That's where you can do more entertainment or other things. So look at those so you can keep that engagement up. Even if you're not in selling, you want to keep that engagement around so that when you're ready for the next season, you've got followers that are engaged and ready. You can be educating people. Maybe do some extra specials and deals or do some fun contests and things. Keep people around during the slow season. Then when the busy season hits again, you've got all these people that are primed and ready to buy. Even pre-sales at the beginning, all those kinds of things are great. So that'll help you in the long run to keep that engagement up on your social sites. Now another thing that does happen is sometimes you'll come along in your social media, your engagement's up, you've got good content, it's a good time of year, and all of a sudden your engagement just tanks. Now that is a problem. If it just tanks and you can't find a cycle, the content still is good, people were responding to it recently. If you can't find a problem in there, then start looking in the news. This is something that happens all the time. Something major happens in the news, people get very distracted, and then they stop paying attention to your site. Because they're not looking at your site to buy stuff or whatever, they're looking at all this news media or this other information and conversations out there about whatever's happening. So when there is a major, like a tsunami, like the tsunami that happened several years ago in Banda Aceh, people are gone. They're distracted, totally distracted by the news and all the stuff that's happening. People are sharing videos. There's lots of pictures posted. People sharing updates from friends that are in the area. There's a lot of things that are happening, and all of that is distracting people from your social sites. So those are the times of year when those things happen. Be very aware of that and realize that when a major event happens in the news, people are going to be distracted. The bigger, more impactful that event is, especially to their life, the longer they'll be distracted by it. So just be aware of that, okay? Now we just went through an election in 2016 that was a pretty crazy election. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. If you guys have questions about how to keep your followers engaged and interacted with you on social, let us know. So as we're talking about this, we had this big election. So very distracting. It was a big challenge, bigger than normal, to get people to stick around on businesses' social sites because of all this conversation, all the debate, all the things that were happening around this election. So when that happens, the thing you want to realize is how do we be involved in that conversation? So you can get in that conversation stream. You can talk with people and share things. Now you want to be very careful with this. If it gets into religious issues or political issues or things like that, you want to be very careful. This is a bit of a minefield for a business because you do not want to alienate customers. You want to keep them around. Now, unless you're in a business that is very clearly defined politically or religiously, then the more neutral you can stay as a business, the better. Okay, that's just the better way to do it. So what that means is you need to ask yourself, is this something that we can talk about? Is this something that our followers are interacting with? Is there something with this we could utilize to stay involved in conversation and help be seen by people around us? Or should we stay clear of this? Now, presidential elections, usually you can get some good debate going by just facilitating why somebody likes a certain candidate or why somebody would not vote for a certain candidate or those kinds of things. Facilitate conversation, facilitate discussion, and allow people to discuss and share their own comments and things as well. So you're not picking sides, you're just facilitating the conversation. That is a great way to help people stick around and be more interactive and engaged with your content and your social sites. However, if that conversation is not going to be a good one to be associated with for your business, then avoid it. It's okay to avoid it. You may have to run some boosted posts or do some other things to connect with your followers in a different way. But just realize that's what happens. So you just want to think that through on purpose. Okay, if you are a company like a grocery store or retail location, and you do not want to alienate people, then don't necessarily talk about it. We, for this last election, because it was, for this last election, we actually kept most of our clients out of the conversation because it was such a controversial election, all kinds of crazy things happening, that we felt it was best to just avoid that minefield and not take our clients there. So that's a good way to do things. Hey, thanks for the hearts, we appreciate that. So, but realize those kinds of things happen, okay? Now, do you do social media marketing? Yes, we do. This is what we do for businesses. Now, things like Sandy Hook shooting or mass shootings that happen, tragic things that'll happen, it's not bad as a business to be seen as sympathetic or empathetic to the situation, and oh, hey, our hearts and thoughts go out to the families that are being affected by this major tragedy. Those kinds of things are okay to share, to show that you as a business are sympathetic or empathetic even to the situation at hand. If your business wants to help somehow, like here in Utah, we just had, I think it's still the largest wildfire in the United States, the Brian Head Fire, that they're still wrapping it up and getting it done. It's a huge fire. I mean, it's really dramatically impacted central Utah, around Parowan and Panguitch. Those communities dramatically negatively influence them. So it's not bad for a business to say, hey, we want to help. We want to give our condolences. We want to say thanks to the firefighters for helping with this fire. Those are great statements to put out there. Those are okay to say, to just be, hey, we want to be a part of this and be seen as helping and contributing to the positive conversation around this tragedy. Now, if you want to go farther, if your business is actually going to collect donations or if you're going to actually be somehow involved in relief efforts, great. Grab pictures, grab video, post that content, okay? And be careful not to make it markety. That's bad. You want to show it to be more altruistic. We're helping people out. A great case in point on where this went bad was Macy's out in New York. They wanted to post something to help out with the Hurricane Sandy victims. So if you remember a couple years ago, Hurricane Sandy was this big hurricane that went up the eastern seaboard, collided with a snowstorm that created this crazy cold mega storm that just dumped tons of snow on New York, caused all kinds of power outages and problems a couple years ago. So a lot of people had beachfront property, their homes were destroyed, there's a bunch of homes that caught fire and burned down. There's all kinds of problems that happened from the Hurricane Sandy. And Macy's, on their social media after the storm was done and they were starting to do the cleanup efforts, Macy's put some content out that said, hey, if you've been affected by this storm, then we want to give you a discount. So come, get your clothes replaced, buy stuff from us. We'll give you, I think it was like a 25% or 30% discount or something like that they gave. And the people blew up and went, how dare you try to sell to victims? Don't try to, put out advertising targeting victims at this tragic time. So, and maybe Macy's had an altruistic virtue behind their ads. Maybe they were just trying to capitalize on it and sell. We don't know exactly what happened behind the closed doors, who told who to decide and approve that kind of a message. But the thing is you do not want to be seen as capitalizing on it. You can empathize with people, you can contribute, you can help out, but do not be seen as capitalizing on it. The social sphere eats companies alive that capitalize on tragedies. So just be careful with that, and it may mean you have to move your marketing out. You may not want to post any marketing for a while to just get past that tragedy, and then that will help you so that you can actually have an opportunity to market later on. So share condolences, be part of that conversation, facilitate or support communication if need be, and that's okay. If the tragedy happens in your area, you want to be a source of information for people or other things like that, then those are great things you can do. Is it a good idea to advertise an upcoming clothing brand on social media? It is. It always is a good time to advertise your clothing brand on social media. The thing you want to realize, like we're talking about today, is that as you gain followers, sometimes they will disappear. And so they're not interacting with your content. So keeping up with quality content is important. Watching for major events that are distracting your followers, and realize holidays do the same thing. Holidays will distract people as well. Christmas time, if that's not a time of year for you to be out selling, then your followers are going to have a hard time connecting with you because they're distracted. They're busy buying gifts. They're busy doing all the Christmas parties for their companies and their families, and they're traveling. So the holidays are common times to see a dip in engagement because people are distracted. Other major holidays, if there are long weekends associated with the holidays, like the 4th of July is a common one, then you'll see that. If you have specific holidays in a state where you're advertising, sometimes those state holidays can again influence your ability to be seen. So if you see a dip in your followers' engagement on your social sites, just realize that we have to look at what is it. If it's consistently staying down, could be our content. If it comes down and there's a big news event that's happening, it could be the news event. Maybe there's a holiday. Oh, it could be this holiday. Oh, okay, great. If you're trying to sell into Canada and you don't realize that you put out a whole bunch of content and advertising and it ends up hitting around Canada Day, which is their independence, basically you might not catch a lot of people because they're busy celebrating and doing things for their country. So be aware of those kinds of trends and things that'll happen. All of that will help you in improving your content. If you know that those things are going to happen, hello, thanks for joining us. If you know those things are going to happen, like you can predict a holiday coming. You can predict, oh, here's the a low sales time for us. Here's holidays that are happening, other events that are going to be happening. If you can anticipate that, then create content that'll help keep engagement up while people are distracted. Jump into the conversation if it's appropriate, all those kinds of things to help keep the conversation going. So long as people are liking, commenting, and sharing on your stuff, regardless of the type of content it is, the better. So stay involved with your followers, stay involved in what's interesting and relevant to them. What are they looking for? What's the information they want? Be a resource to your followers and they will stick around and interact with you more. Encourage discussion on your social sites. Be a place where people can share their thoughts and ideas on certain topics is good. Be careful on regulating those, okay? Because you want to be seen as opportunistic as far as letting people share their opinions and ideas. If it gets vulgar, if you have problems, you can warn them. If you need to block them after that, you can. But the main thing is err on the side of letting people express themselves, and then if it's unfit content, you can take it down or warn them as well if need be. But be facilitative with your followers and work with them, and realize that the content marketing game is always adjusting and changing. So new technologies, new trends, new habits, new things come out. Be aware of those and jump on those to help keep you relevant and engaged with your followers. So thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it for another episode of Smart TV.